Oh, this is a bad idea. I'm using a Walmart tent in the mountains. Hi guys, welcome to Lone Crow Adventures, the channel where we talk about all things camping, hiking, and backpacking. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do so now. There's great stuff coming up on this channel. Today I'm going to be sharing my experience with you using a $35 Walmart Ozark Trail dome tent in the Guadalupe Mountains in Texas. Why was I using a Walmart tent in the mountains in Texas? That's because I was on a 10-day long road trip and I had a catastrophic failure with my regular tent, and there was absolutely no outdoor stores to be found in the area where we were. And honestly, the best that I could do was find this $35 Walmart tent. So I'm going to take you guys through the entire video from the time that we show up to the campsite until the next morning and show you exactly the conditions that we were working in, which were not very favorable. It was very windy, it was very dark, and I'll provide a complete review of that tent the following morning. We have zipper split on our other tent, and we're trying out this $35 Walmart special in super treacherous conditions that this tent is not designed to be used in. So I'll be providing a full comprehensive review in a later video about the 4-person dome tent. This was a $35 find at Walmart. It was the only tent that I was able to find. There's no outdoor stores here. Alright, little Walmart tent. Let's see. Oh. You know, it really honestly is my favorite situation when I can set up a tent for the very first time in frigid cold temperatures, in total darkness, and in high winds. That's the winning combination, folks. Alright, so we've got our tent set up. It is the Ozark Trail 4-person dome tent. It is currently 26 degrees outside. There's 55-mile-an-hour winds, and we're testing this tent out at 6,200 feet in the Guadalupe Mountains in Texas. So we'll provide a full review in the morning and let you guys know exactly how things went. This is not a mountaineering tent, so I am going to definitely keep that in mind when it comes to the review I'm going to give this thing come morning. There's already a couple things on it I don't like. There's not enough guy ropes. These little blue ones here are about 18 inches long, and that's all the guy rope that you get. I reinforced it with some big plastic pegs because we're getting some heck of a winds tonight. I also did some extra guy rope here. These are extra guy ropes that I brought, and you can hear the wind. I mean, it's crazy. So just to reinforce it against that. Other thing, there's only one entrance on this little tent. I mean, this tent's a $35 tent, so keep that in mind. But you'll notice over here we have these little clips that secure this beam that holds the tent fly. You notice on this side, which is the windy side, it's already popped off. And this thing has popped off multiple different times, and it's going to continue to pop off because it's actually mounted to this clip that's supposed to clip up to this pole here. So that's a big fail. And then we have a little zipper, and this is to vent a window. Now, this makes me really concerned, having a zipper directly over a window like this in the event of a heavy rain. That makes me really nervous. I've never seen a tent fly with a zipper that goes directly over a window that doesn't have an interior panel on the inside to keep it out. So hopefully we don't encounter any heavy rain or we could be in trouble. I've used Ozark Trail tents in the past, you know, weekend car camping and that sort of thing, and they've always been pretty decently seam sealed, you know, for your light rain. But like I said, this tent is not a mountaineering tent. It's not designed as a mountaineering tent, so we're gonna definitely keep that in mind when we give this thing a rating. And honestly, if it doesn't blow down, if we don't lose these fiberglass poles in these really cold conditions, it'll be a miracle. Well, good morning, everybody. I'd like to greet you after getting a nice restful sleep in my $35 Ozark trail tent in alpine conditions, but that's not possible. And there is a reason for that. It's because this was as windy inside the tent as it was outside, and I'll show you why here. The wind was coming from this northwest direction. It was hitting the wall of this tent, which was pushing it in, and then it was coming right up underneath this little baby fly. And I don't know if you can tell, but the mesh is right here. So when the wind would blow, it would just blow up here, right up underneath of this mesh, and then there would be like a wind tunnel effect on the inside of the tent. And it was so windy. Any other tents that I've ever used have had a rain fly that comes all the way down, so that way when the wind hits it, it kind of goes around. So you don't have that in this tent. So if you're thinking about buying a budget tent to use in windy conditions, keep this as a consideration. You may want to have a rain fly that goes all the way down. One of the features that drove me nuts about this tent, minor consideration, but normally on a tent you have a rain guard on the zipper that goes all the way around. For whatever reason, they've decided to put the rain guard down on this side and then flip it up and then switch the stitching side up this direction. So I could see where it would actually provide some decent waterproofing, but when you unzip the tent, you really have to unzip it from both directions. So when I try to come around with one zipper all the way around, it wants to get stuck right here, right where that material flips. So the easiest way is you can hold it and zip it, but the easiest way is just to bring one zipper all the way up to this point and then find your other zipper and then match it up there, because it would get stuck where this material folds over here. Not really a great tent for, alpine conditions. But of course, I'm using this tent because I had a zipper split on my other tent, so I had a mechanical failure, and I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, and Walmart is really the only store you're lucky to find a Walmart. So I bought this other tent thinking that maybe it would be able to limp it out for the rest of the trip, but after experiencing what I did tonight with this tent, I'm going to be setting up the broken tent, and I've got some duct tape in the Jeep, and I'll just make do, because this was an awful experience. Now, let's talk about the rating that I would give for this tent. I tested this tent in conditions that it absolutely is not designed for, and it did hold up with some additional guy roping added to it. I didn't get the opportunity to test the waterproofing aspects of this tent because it didn't rain, thankfully. But my experience with Ozark trail tents in the past is that with the application of a little bit of some DWR spray, they're actually quite waterproof. So I would imagine that this one would also be, at least for that first season that you own it. So let's give this tent a rating based on the fact that it is a budget tent and that you would be using this tent in a family campground situation, going close to home, probably in the summertime, in good conditions. So let's rate it from that perspective. Obviously, if you're doing mountaineering, if you're doing overlanding, if you're doing any kind of serious outdoors work with this tent, you're not going to bring this tent. So I'm going to give it a fair rating based on what I saw. I would actually give this tent 3.5 out of 5 crows. The biggest reason for that is it actually held up to some pretty substantial wind gusts last night. Overall, I was pretty impressed with it. The assembly process wasn't too difficult. Of course, you get that same kind of assembly process that you always do with a budget tent, but I was able to put it up in a high wind situation with the help of one person in complete darkness and in frigid conditions. So I would say, if it wasn't for the fact that it was so windy, this tent would have worked fine for us last night. But the fact that the way that this fly is designed, when the wind comes and it just whoosh right through the tent, that's where it loses some big time points. But if you're going to use this on a family camping trip, on a weekend situation, July, August, nice weather, definitely $35. It's a great tent for the kids. It's a great tent if you're just casual camping or you want to throw up a tent at your friend's trailer or something. That's fine. Serious outdoors people, I don't even need to tell you to avoid this tent, but just, you know, if you're a serious outdoors person, avoid this tent. Well, thanks for joining me. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and found it entertaining and useful. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And while you're here, you may as well check out a few of my other videos. Until next time, folks, we'll see you on the trail.